So, in episode 18 of part 4 of JoJo, we get introduced to a new character called Shigechi. Hopefully I'm saying that nickname of his right, but this guy has a very weird appearance. Like, we can tell that he's obviously bald, but we can see that, like, on the top of his head, under his skin, he has, like, these spikes, and to me, they just look so freaking weird. I don't know how in the world can this guy live with the top of his head looking like that. But regardless, now we see now that this guy is a character who at first seems to be really like friendly and buddy, but you can tell that he's very money hungry, because when the episode starts off, we first focus on Koichi, who is still dealing with the fact that like there's this killer who's like hiding out in this town. And then we go to Joysuke, and we see now that like he was at the bank, and we see that he only has like 200 something yen like left in his account, so he's pretty much broke. And right now he was like freaking out. But then we go back to that Joseph scene where he bought all that stuff for that invisible baby, but we do learn from him that he made Joseph like pay him back, so he did have money, but then he like spent it again. So right now it's like all his fault that he broke this time. But while he was in the bank, he can hear like a very weird sound coming from underneath like a trash can or something. And so at first, we see a cockroach, and that right there kind of makes him like freak out a little bit. But then we see now that the real thing he was like hearing was like this weird looking bug looking kind of stand. Like, I'm not really sure how to describe the way Harvest looked, because to me it seems like kind of like a humanoid like miniature bug thing. So to me, it's very hard for me to describe it, but pretty much he saw one of the bodies of Harvest, and so right now he knew right away there was a stand. But we see it now holding, this coin, and then we see it now place this coin like in a little slot on his forehead, and that's what we see it now leaving. And so now with Josuke, seeing that this right here was a stand, there was like no way he could leave it alone. So right now he was chasing it, and while he was doing that, we see now that the Okuyasu was now following one as well. But we see now that compared to Josuke, he was definitely more pissed off. And now the reason why Okuyasu was like so mad, because apparently while he was buying this water from the vending machine, that's where he first saw Harvest. And apparently it like scared him so freaking much, he actually spilled this water all on his uniform, so that's why he was like so pissed. But eventually, while they were like chasing Harvest, we see now that, there were just not 1, 2, or 3 of them. There was a small army of these things called Harvest, and right now, rather than like trying to attack, Okuyasu or Josuke, because they were being followed, they were like more concerned with bringing the money back to their user. And so that right there, led Josuke and Okuyasu to follow Harvest into like this forest. And eventually now they were like watching them, like pretty much eject all these coins, and we just saw piling up. And so right now we finally see the user who is Shigechi. And so right now, like they were kind of wondering, whether or not this guy was like friend or foe, because if this guy right here was like the enemy stand, then at any point he could have attacked them. But we saw how they were like more focused on returning to him. And so eventually now we have Shigechi, eventually finding them. And right now they were like giving him this really creepy vibe, because like we saw his eyes were like blank, and we saw like this darkish aura behind him. But pretty much now like we saw him smiling, and this guy definitely has a pretty messed up smile, because he is missing like quite a few teeth. But regardless, now this guy, Shigechi, he was like coming off like rather friendly. He did learn that, just like him, Okuyasu and Josuke also have this power known as stands, and so pretty much now they were like becoming friends. And to me now, what Shigechi was like trying to do to really like solidify their friendship was to like give them half of the money he had collected because what he was doing was he was gathering like all this like loose change that people would lose and not really care about, and that right there was like building him a small fortune because what he had definitely seemed like this guy was like filthy rich, because we know that that Josuke right now he is broke, and I'm pretty sure that Okuyasu does not have money. I'm pretty sure that the Okuyasu does not have money like that as well. And so right now we have Josuke here, like, turning down the money because, like in his mind, he had a bigger plan, even though he was saying that his pride and justice would like not allow him to would not allow him to actually take that money. And so pretty much now, what Josuke, like master plan was, it was to use Harvest to collect all these like coupons or cards or pretty much something pretty much it was something for like special promotions that these certain stores had like going on. And so we see now Harvest was going around the entire city gathering up all this stuff. And then we have, Josuke going into these stores trying to get real like money for them. And so eventually, we have Josuke inside while we have Okuyasu and Shigechi, outside, like watching. But we do see that, Shigechi, he was like kind of worried that this right here might not work. And then we see Koichi once again, like walking down the street. And he does spot them, but before he can like fully call out to Okuyasu, because he was like definitely wondering, who in the world was hanging out with. Like you could just tell that a chill ran down his spine. And then we see that what's her name, Yukiko. That even though Koichi has, like escaped from her, long ago, this girl is like still obsessed with him. And I will say that it's like definitely nice to see that her hair is like back to normal, like it's fully grown again and it's no longer white. So that's nice to know. But at the same time, she is still obsessed with this guy. And to me, it was like hilarious because Koichi was like, oh hell no. And rather than like ignoring her and possibly hanging out with his friends, he was like, I'm out of here. And we just see him like picking up his pace as he continued to walk. So to me, that right there was like kind of funny. But then we have Josuke finally coming out, and we see now that at two places he actually couldn't get money, but he did get like pretty much, what's it called? Crap, I'm trying to think what GameStop calls it, but it's pretty much like, I guess you could say like saving points or save money, where you can like use that and pretty much you can actually buy stuff and you will use what you have saved up and not the money that you would normally have to use, something like that. But regardless now, where there was like one market, well, the one store that we actually saw him in, they were the only one who had like gave him money. And that right there was like some kind of market, but pretty much, like all these stamps they had collected came to like 61,500 again, I believe it was. And so yeah, that right there was a lot. And we see now that Shigechi, he was the one that was like handling the money, and we see him now get a bit too eager because there was like some young woman walking down the street, and this guy was like trying to be all flashy with the money, talking about he's here with a full stack and that you want to have some fun. But obviously we have Josuke and Okuyasu, pulling him back because there's no way he can use that money like that, especially where they all agreed, like on this idea, they would like split the money, where we have Shigechi getting half, and then we have Okuyasu and Josuke, getting the other half. And so pretty much now, like we see Shigechi's true nature coming out, where we have him only giving them like 10,000 yen, which is definitely not enough. And so he was saying that because his stand was like doing all the work, where we only have, like Josuke and Okuyasu, coming up with it and not really helping at all, he felt like he deserved most of it while they only got that little bit. And so pretty much, at this point, we have Okuyasu that was pissed, and we have Josuke, like trying to like, like calm him down so that way this right here would not blow up. And so eventually now we have Josuke saying here, chill out. We will teach him how adults, like agree, to to this kind of things, because Shigechi definitely has like the mind of a child. And so pretty much now, like, we get another scene where we have Shigechi like at this vending machine, and so he was like asking Okuyasu what like something he would want because he would buy it. And so right now what he wanted was that water that he accidentally spilled when he first saw Harvest. But we see Shigechi kind of like being a dick and not really doing it, and that right there kind of like made him mad. But then we see now that when they went to this park, we have what's the name, Josuke. He was like dumping out all these like lottery like tickets, because pretty much he was thinking that they were like losers. And so right now we have Okuyasu not really wanting to give up on them, because we have him like checking them out, because he believed that like there might be a winner among them. But Josuke was like, don't be stupid, because no one will like throw away or lose a winning ticket. And so right now we have Shigechi still being like kind of smug, saying that like he was fine with like getting half of whatever it was, but it was like something that was like not really valuable. He was saying that if it was that, he did not want any of it. And so eventually now we have Okuyasu like looking throughout all these tickets, and eventually he does find one that actually matches up like a winning one that was like ran down this book. And so right now he was like freaking out, because we learn now that the grand prize for that, it was 5 million yen. And so right now he was ecstatic, and we see now how Josuke here was like freaking out, but he wanted to make sure. And so we learn now how that right there was like the real prize. Of course that right there made him like happy as well. And so right now, both of them were like trying to decide what in the world would they do with like all this money. But then we see now how Shigechi, in his mind, he was thinking that there was like no way, he would actually split this much money, because he was saying how it was his stand who actually picked up that ticket, and so he feels like all that belongs to him. So obviously you can tell that this right here will lead to some conflict next week, so that right there should be good. Oh, and also we also got this like hilarious scene about how like different here, but like early on, where we have Shigechi talking about something he had like did at home, and then we have him bringing up that his mother was like yelling at him, and then out of nowhere he brings out a picture of like his mom, and we have like Okuyasu, who at first was like looking at all the money that was like piled up, and then when he saw his mother, he was saying, wow, your mom was actually kind of hot, and that really surprised him. And I do believe that it also surprised Josuke as well, because you would think with a guy looking like that, like there'll be no one in the world he can have a hot mom. And so to me, that right there, was like another hilarious scene that we got in the episode. But as usual, this episode, it was pretty dang good, but this right here was like kind of set up, because we saw like a new character being introduced, and like at the same time we just saw what his stand it's like really useful for, like we have not seen in combat, because obviously it's like real feature or real usefulness. It's like gathering stuff, which to me is definitely not a bad power, because we do learn that that Shigechi, he has built quite a fortune so far. But as always, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy, and I will see you all next time.